I'm like many people where as soon as that 2-year suspension was up, we wanted to see him fight, 2 years and 1 day later, right?
Yep. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, July is proving to be the month of the returning champions. We just saw Miesha Cupcake Tate back in action, getting a win last night, and then that's rolling right over to Mr. TJ Dillashaw, RHCP can't stop man himself, returning. I'm very excited to see the former champ TJ Dillashaw back after a very long suspension. And then the fight was supposed to happen with Cory Sandhagen in May, and that got pushed back even further. So it's been over 2 years since we've seen TJ back in action, and I think it's going to be a very exciting fight.
Yeah, me too. This is one of the most highly anticipated returns that we've had in quite some time. And as soon as that, I'm like many people where as soon as that 2-year suspension was up, we wanted to see him fight, 2 years and 1 day later, right?
Yep.
We didn't want to wait any longer, but I understand there was some things that had to take place, some opponents that had to get lined up, and some dates obviously ended up getting pushed back, but better late than never that we're getting TJ Dillashaw back in action. And, even though a lot has happened at bantamweight, it's now more exciting than ever. And the top five is constantly evolving. One thing that has stayed the same is that everybody still agrees TJ Dillashaw is for sure the top, if not one of the top contenders in the entire division. And everybody is kind of conceding one of those top contender title eliminator spots to him. And they've got the other right guy in Cory Sandhagen. So I think this is actually a really fun fight.
Yeah, I do too. And honestly, there was a time a few years ago before TJ suffered the suspension for the EPO use that I really believed he was the best mixed martial artist on the planet.
Yeah.
Most complete. I mean, we saw, I think it was the fight against John Lineker. He tried everything, including the kitchen sink and including a calf slicer in that fight. He really has a very deep depth of all of the martial arts. He's with Bang Muay Thai. You see the incredible dynamic striking that he implores. He's at the Gracie Barra headquarters in California, putting in hard no-gi rounds with some absolute killers.
Yeah.
The wrestling is good. Sam Calvita is as good. He's the benchmark, the industry standard for strength and conditioning. So TJ covers all the bases. Obviously, he got a big slap on the wrist for what happened in the Henry Cejudo fight, but now he's back, and I'm very excited to see him fight because I think that TJ, when he's at his best, can be a champion again. He's very dynamic. He covers a lot of space, and nobody really fights quite like TJ. You see Juan Archuleta, his main training partner in Bellator, and he's kind of the closest thing you see to the way that TJ fights, but a very hard guy to train for. And as I understand, him and Cory have actually had some training sessions together in the past. That should make it even that much more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. When you felt a guy and you know exactly what their tendencies are, especially if you had a lot of time on the mats with them, then you really both kind of know how this fight could go. And, people can shock the other one and they can shock the world for sure. But I have a feeling that TJ picked Cory Sandhagen out of the bunch, even though he's a very tough fight, because he feels like he can get the jump on him and get right back into a title fight against the winner of Peter Yan and Aljo whenever they finish their business. One thing you said about the technique and how he's kind of just masterful on all aspects of martial arts is, he was a wrestler at heart. He grew up on the wrestling mats. He was successful as a wrestler all the way up until he started his MMA career. But now he's kind of known as a Muay Thai creative MMA specialist. And it's so unique to see a guy who comes from a wrestling, not just a grappling background, but a wrestling background, be able to kind of throw away some of those hardwired tendencies that wrestlers bring into the octagon and become a free-flowing striker and one of those guys that's, lethal with their hands, their feet, their all 8 limbs, and their takedowns. And he's really mastered that. And Juan Archuleta, like you said, his teammate is kind of the only other one that you can point out and say they definitely did it as well. Like, there's some other great examples that you see. Michael Chandler,
right?
He's super, super high level with his wrestling. But his striking is a little bit one-dimensional. It's not
as dynamic.
Not near as dynamic. It's very good. Don't get me wrong. He's really, really good at the fundamentals. But TJ Dillashaw is kind of mastering his own style of fighting and his own style of stand-up, and it's really impressive. And, a lot of guys are of the mindset that iron sharpens iron. And I personally believe that to be true. You're only going to get better if you're in there with the best in the world. And that's why these camps have been created all throughout the world.
Yep.
You've got American Top Team. You've got the AKAs, the Albuquerque squads down there, the now Kings MMA. So there's some budding ones, SBG. But some fighters don't mesh well with that. TJ was at Alpha Male, and there's a ton of great guys, especially in that weight class, that can really help each other grow. But sometimes when you want to become the champion, you got to do a few things that are a little bit different than the rest of the pack. You got to become a little bit selfish and start to cater your training camps in your life around what you need. And so TJ's hired 2 handfuls worth of coaches, and everything's centered around him. He's got the iron to sharpen his iron with all the best training partners you can possibly hand select. So I think it's actually the best form of TJ Dillashaw we've ever seen. And after a 2-year layoff, he had time to recalibrate, and I think we're going to see a very dangerous man next weekend.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to me, 2 people that have sparred together and felt each other in the gym, as you said, that both want the fight.
Yeah.
Because behind closed doors, if 2 people fight or 2 people train together, who got the jump on who. Both men know who got the jump.
Right.
And we're hearing very conflicting things, right? We're hearing Cody no love, and I think you have to take everything Cody says with a grain of salt because we know the relationship with him and TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah.
He's saying that Cory beat the hell out of TJ when they fought. And TJ is saying, and some of his friends are saying, hey, we saw those same sparring sessions and Cody needs to go get his eyes checked because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Right. So I love that. I love the little bit of drama that's there and that Cody has inserted himself in the situation. But the reality about Sandhagen is he's a stone cold killer. Yeah. I mean, Frankie Edgar is a legend of the game. Now, Frankie's not as dynamic of a mover as TJ is. It's going to be a very different fight. But Cory Sandhagen, when he gets off and he stands in front of you, he is crisp, precise, and powerful. And if you make any mistake, he sees the opportunity extremely well and he seizes it. And one thing that I love Dwayne Ludwig and his style of striking, but with that style comes a lot of dynamic movement, and it does require you to put yourself in danger, even if it's only temporarily, with the way you move and coming across the center line in a big way. Cory's very good at picking up on those things and reading those things. So it'll be interesting to see this play out because Cory's much more of an in-the-pocket, traditional, just beat you up with body shots, great knees, and TJ's a mover and a shaker. So I think it's going to be an excellent fight. This is a stylistic striker's dream, and I think that if one of them doesn't clip the other one early on, which could happen either way, then I think we're going to see an awesome 5-round fight.
Yeah, I think that there might be a pretty big height difference and
big
reach
time
difference.
Yeah. Sandhagen's very tall for the division. I think he's 5'11".
Yeah, he's tall, and a lot of the statistics on the MMA and UFC rankings and all that stuff are a little bit skewed. People will give themselves a couple of grace inches or a couple of grace pounds, or they might tip the scale the other way when they're not weighing in and stuff. But once we get to see them square off against each other at the face-offs and at the weigh-ins, we're going to get to know exactly how much the range and the height is going to play into this. And I think Sandhagen's going to have to utilize that because TJ Dillashaw, even though he is a shorter opponent, he's good at keeping people at the end of his punches and kicks and can beat them up from a kicking range and until he's ready to move in, and then he starts to get you with those quick burst style hooks and stuff. But you're very right with the Ludwig style of striking. It's high risk, high reward. Those guys are moving a ton, and they have the gas tank, thanks to Sam Calvita, to do it all 25 minutes that they need to. But if you're a really good striker, you can pick up on some of those tendencies and make them pay for it, and then they'll get a little bit shy to do it again, and then that's when they turn into a little bit more of a fundamentally basic striker. But you can also just get clipped, even if a guy's in there and they're in way over their head stylistically. They could just get lucky and hit you when you're crossing the center line or when you're ducking under. And somebody who's as good with their knees as Cory Sandhagen
against a shorter guy.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. When you see some of those rolls and some of those slips that the Bang Muay Thai guys like to do, they are going to have to be careful because TJ could catch a knee right to the face. We've seen how good Cory can time those, and It's going to be a really fun fight.
Absolutely. And listen, this is the right fight for TJ because this guy's the number 2 in the division.
Yeah.
What better way to cement yourself as a title contender against the winner of Jan and Aljo than by taking out the number 2 guy? And then, honestly, if Cory just takes TJ out of there or even just wins the fight, there's no denying him. He is the clearest cut number 1 contender in all of MMA if he gets past TJ, in my opinion.
Yeah, and TJ's kind of in a rare group of fellas where in the UFC, when somebody is either retired, out for suspension, out from injury, one of those types of issues where they're just sidelined and they're still getting called out. That's sort of off limits. But I guess if you get a slap on the wrist for doing something like he did, then anything's fair game. And so, you see Conor McGregor, people are still calling him out. He's got a broken leg. He's in a wheelchair. Daniel Cormier retired. He was still getting called out the next month after by Jan Blachowicz. And now TJ Dillashaw, for the past 2.5 years, he's been getting called out by all the best guys in his division. And so I think he's actually going to make a return and make a serious ripple in the water at bantamweight. A division that has never been as hot as it currently is right now might have just gotten their biggest star back.
It's funny because you have legends like TJ and Dominic Cruz who are still very relevant in the division.
Yeah.
And then you've got like a whole different subset of guys that are relatively newer names. And so it's cool that a lot of them are now fighting each other. And I am just super charged up for this match. I guess we'll give an early prediction. I'll go TJ. I think he's going to win this fight, even though I do believe Cory Sandhagen will be fighting for a title within the next 24 months and possibly be a champion at bantamweight. I think TJ's going to come back and have a big performance.
Yeah, and as much as I like to bet against you, it's hard for me to go with Cory just because of TJ Dillashaw's, experience, the way he's, had an entire successful career. He's proven himself not just once but twice that he can take the belt and run with it, and he never lost the belt. He feels like he is the uncrowned king of the division, and there's just some guys keeping the seat warm for him while he was sitting on the sidelines. So I truly do think that TJ's probably the most skilled 135er on the planet right now. Close second is Peter Yan. And I think Cory Sandhagen is a very tough guy. He's going to be a problem in not just the top 5, but the top 3 of the bantamweight division for a very long time. But I think Saturday night is going to be TJ Dillashaw's night.
I think so. And guys, we'll do a longer predictions video as the week progresses, and we'll predict most of the fights or all of the fights on the main card. So stay tuned for that. We might do it as a live. We had a lot of fun with the live after the Islam fight last night. So we will post and let you guys know. But thank you for watching this video. And if you've enjoyed, a like, comment, and subscribe is much appreciated. And if you listen to audio podcasts, check us out there as well. Until the next one, guys, have a wonderful day.
Peace.